So in this challenge review, we're going to go ahead and create the enemy explosion. Now we already have our enemy explosion as a prefab, and the objective here is that when the enemy gets destroyed, it instantiates the enemy explosion. So let's go ahead and open up our enemy AI script. It makes sense that the enemy AI would be responsible for exploding itself. So what we want to do here is we're going to have a private variable of type GameObject to store the enemy explosion prefab. So we'll call it private GameObject enemy explosion, and we'll call it prefab, enemy explosion prefab. And in order to assign it in the inspector, we need to add our serialized field attribute. Head over to the inspector, click on our enemy, and we'll go ahead and we'll add in the enemy explosion, which is right here. Now you'll notice that it highlighted bold here. What that means is that we haven't applied this prefab, and we want to make sure we do that. So go ahead and hit apply, and you'll see now it goes back to normal. That's just to signify that you haven't applied this prefab, which means that when we instantiate it, those changes won't be affected. But now they will since we hit apply. Okay, so back to the enemy AI. When do we want to instantiate this enemy explosion prefab? We want to instantiate it when we destroy ourselves. So here, we destroy ourselves here. So right before doing that, we're going to go ahead and say instantiate the explosion prefab. And where do I want to instantiate it? I want to instantiate it at the enemy's position. So I'm going to say transform.position, and I'm going to keep the rotation as default or no rotation, so quaternion.identity. And likewise, I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and we can go ahead and paste that down here as well for the player. So we'll go ahead and we'll say instantiate the enemy explosion at my position, quaternion.identity. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out, and let's see if it works. We'll go ahead and run it, and we'll go ahead and just run into the enemy. Let's see here, and there you go. You get this awesome cinematic explosion effect. Very, very cool. Let's go ahead and try that again. Let's go ahead and give it a shot with the laser, see if we shoot it. And there is one thing we actually may want to adjust. Yeah, there is one thing we do want to adjust, and that is the ordering of our enemy explosion. So if we put the enemy explosion back in the scene here, you'll notice that we forgot to set the sorting layer. Set the sorting layer to the foreground. And now it will be on top of the ship. So we'll go ahead and hit apply. We'll delete it out of here. Let's go ahead and run it again, and it should look much more spectacular. So here, let's go ahead and shoot it down. And there you go. Check out that insanely cool sci-fi explosion.